And we are on the air with the first Building Better Business for Women by Women weekly webcast with Natasa Djukanovic this week. As you can see, Natasa and I are both in our living rooms, very casual. And unfortunately, we couldn't do this thing in the same room live together. But thanks to technology, with a few glitches along the way,
Yep.
So we're a little late with this because Natasha and I both have about, 5 emails that we use all the time. Okay, so Natasha was emailing me trying to get on Hangouts on one email that I wasn't using because I'm using my personal one for this. And I was emailing her to her Gmail account while she was using her other personal account. And it took us about, 10 minutes to figure out which accounts we were going to be using for this. And here we are. We didn't think that was going to be an issue because we're used to, technology. But when you have 12 active email accounts in your inbox every day, this is what happens. So Natasha, what have you been up to? How are you?
It's Saturday, I guess. So kind of expecting to spend some time outside, and I was. But the sun is not good. It's too much.
So yeah, that's exactly what I was complaining about today. The weather was awful. I was hoping I was hoping to get away from my computer for a little while and go out, but that didn't work out for us today. What have you been up to lately before we move on to a formal introduction and a ton of questions for you?
Tons of things, I guess. I traveled like crazy since the end of August until mid of November, and then I got into a marketing workshop that we did here for the students, and it was like 25 girls and 2 guys. And that was lots of fun, but I'm kind of tired and I need to get rest now.
Okay, well, the holidays are coming up, so hopefully we'll get some rest. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the formal questions.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, just in the meantime, I'm going to be on my phone every once in a while, checking in with my assistant and a couple more people who are following things on social networks. So as you're all following this, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. In the meantime, sorry, Natasha, just before I make the introduction to you, people might be a little confused as to why we're doing this webcast and what this is.
Yeah.
And I know why we're here because we've discussed this sort of project a million times before and just never got around to doing it. So here we are now. This is the first webcast of many weekly webcasts to come. And it is all part of the Building Better Business for Women by Women project, which is sort of a personal project started out as a personal project of mine, but will now be the very personal project of many of us, hopefully. So the project aims to assist women in empowering their own local communities by building successful small businesses, micro businesses, or careers through online and on-site mentoring, teaching basic business, basic management and marketing skills workshops in different countries, which, by the way, we are currently looking at locations for in very strange places that we didn't expect. And finally, we hope to set up a microfunding and small business incubator program that will literally directly assist these women in not in empowering these women, but in assisting these women in empowering their own communities, their own local economies, and their own careers, of course. So through all of this, one of the first things that occurred to me is how great it would be if every woman out there with a great business idea or, professional ambitions had the kind of amazing female network that I have. And then it occurred to me that, this is what I do. I'm a communications consultant, and this is what the interwebs is for. So then I figured that I'd do this webcast, to introduce you to all of the phenomenal women that I know, and hopefully then to all of the phenomenal women that they know. Yeah. So that is going to be our network. And by the way, we are all very open. Natasha, I don't know about you, but I've been told a million times that I'm hard to get to. which is exactly the opposite of what is
Why?
true.
I disagree.
I disagree too, and I disagree that, you're hard to get to. So anyone out there who would like to get in touch with us, or any of the guests that will be on this webcast, feel free to. We are definitely, our contact information is all over the place online. Feel free to reach out, feel free to email us, feel free to call us. Or if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to, say, Natasa or somebody else, feel free to email me, and I will definitely introduce you to the right people. That's what we're here for. So that occurred to me when I decided to do these webcasts is how hard it was going to be to introduce some of these women. And that is exactly one of the reasons that I picked Natasa to be the first guest. And thank you very much for immediately accepting. Because most of the women that we will have as guests on this webcast are a contradiction in terms. They are a world of opposites all rolled into one. And Natasa is a prime example of that. So this will probably be one of my toughest introductions. All right.
Really? I thought it was really simple.
Yeah, you would think it was really simple because you are very approachable and down to earth. But here's the thing, and I have this in my notes. I've written this down, and I will reference those notes now. Djukanovic is officially the sales and marketing director for domain.me. And she is definitely a contradiction in terms in all of the best ways. So Natasa is a C-level executive and just one of the team. She is a pragmatic and a tree hugger. An outdoorsy type, as you heard her mention initially when she said she'd like to spend some time outdoors today. An outdoorsy type who loves to read, but also adores the online world and technology. A boss and a mother, although I'll admit those may be synonyms. A critic and an idealist. And above all, a very strange combination of an empiricist and a dreamer. So
okay.
That's Natasa in a nutshell, which doesn't really tell you much and tells you everything. That's the best I could do to introduce her. Now, if you would finally like to get a word in edgewise and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm actually confused now with all of this. I'm starting to think about myself again, like, okay, I consider myself very simple, actually. I know exactly what I want. And one of my biggest goals is actually to not just to help people. It's like helping is not that important. It's important when you see that somebody you helped before is actually succeeding. So that's my thing. Yeah, and I'm a proud mother of 3 grown-up kids. The youngest one is going to be 20 in a couple of months. So that's crazy. And I can't admit that to myself because they're still babies for me. Yeah, and I have a great work and a great team, great job, which I'm very proud of, and an NGO, which goes all together with the helping people. Yeah.
So a little bit of everything, but I think everything that I did say about you, I think all of those are spot on and true, really. You are a contradiction in terms, and it's one of the reasons that you fit perfectly for this entire project that I hope we will be doing a lot of together. But moving on a little bit more to the professional side of your biography first. You have a degree in economics, but then you managed to spread your career across several industries before landing what really seems to be your dream job at domain.me and the work that you do with your NGO. Me. You worked in the airline industry, banking, leadership, and now technology and the internet. So you've obviously worked very hard to get where you are. We don't need to discuss that. But tell me, when you were starting out, did you aim for a top executive career? What did Natasa want to be when she was a teenager?
I actually wanted to be a mother. And everybody would say, yeah, okay, mother, but what else? I actually don't know. I never had a specific idea. I wanted to be a teacher, a captain on a pilot on the airplane. I wanted to be a doctor. You know, that kind of kids who change their opinions all the time. So I don't know exactly. I have no idea. I also wanted to travel, and that's probably one of the only thing that, in addition to being a mother, that came to be true. So I travel a lot. And how I got here, I never wanted to be a director or a boss. That was not my thing. I was just working a lot, and I guess that's how it just happens. So no plans. It was just happening all the time, everything.
You like to say that you're open-minded, and you were obviously born and raised that way. But you mentioned a very interesting thing that, funnily enough, you and I met, I think, some 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When you invited us to do a great little number, my former business partner and myself, to do a great little lecture that I very much enjoyed, and that's gone down as one of my favorite lectures of all time at the Faculty of Political Science in Podgorica, Montenegro. I
Yes.
do believe that was loads of fun. But funny thing, you and I have known each other for 6 years, and this was not one of the planned questions, but when I was 18, I used to tell people when they asked me what I wanted to do with my life, I used to tell them I want to be a mother. And that's exactly the sort of reaction that I got was, you with your mind and your capabilities, that's all you want to be. And you know what? I find that that's a little degrading of the inherent role that women have in society. And it's funny that you and I have never talked about this specific subject before. And see, this is why we should talk more about these things.
Yes.
Why do you think that's, we talk about young girls having all of these choices today, and we talk about giving them more choices. But I personally feel that we are sort of streamlining them and insisting that they go into the inherently male choices, or whatever were the male choices until recently. And I feel that society is sort of losing respect for those traditional female roles. I mean, can we have both?
I think the most important thing is that we can choose if we want to be only the mother and housewife, or we can be a mother and a businesswoman. If we want to do it, I think everybody has the right to choose. And it's stupid if you say to somebody, you're just sitting at home, like not doing anything. That's a lot of work. I would not be able to do it because it's not my kind of thing. But I have actually a great respect for women who choose to do it, who just want to be there for their kids and their husbands and for their families and everything else. It's a hard job, I'm sure. I couldn't. That's probably one of the jobs I'm not born for. I don't know.
Right.
I'm more dynamic.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm very happy with my career and my life.
Oh,
But again, I have to agree with you here. It's all, if we're talking about giving young women a choice, then we should give them that choice and respect
yes,
whatever choice they make.
yes.
So again, equality, we need to talk about this entire issue all over again. But okay, so speaking of things you are built for and are not built for, let's talk about the subject that you and I often talk about, which is juggling. And some of us like to juggle, some of us hate to juggle, but have to do it. And you, my friend, seem to be an expert juggler. Of course, I'm talking about juggling all of the roles that women who want a family, a career, or any of that, and to simultaneously hang on to a sense, of their own self. Have to juggle daily. So you have raised three wonderful children who are now grown and obviously well on their way to being successful in their own right. You
Hopefully.
have a successful marriage, and let's not mention how many decades. And you claim that your husband works even harder than you do, which is really hard to believe, but we'll take your word for it. So you travel all the time, as you mentioned. learner, you have the NGO, you have a bunch of other things. I've noticed that you definitely have time for friends and for getting together for a glass of wine or for dinner. And basically, you head the marketing and sales team of what is essentially an international organization that sells an international product. So the question begs to be asked, how the hell do you do it? And what is the most important factor in making all of that happen?
I have no idea.
Okay, not quite the answer we were looking for. Could you
what's
elaborate?
important? So what's important? I, for example, rarely cook, and I feel guilty because of that. You know, like traditional mother and housewife should make their kids, I don't know, meals and cakes and whatever, and I just don't have time for that. You have to go to a shop to buy things and so on. So that's the first thing that I just put on a side, and I cook only when I have time. Everything else just happens. I guess I have lots of energy. I sleep a lot also. I sleep like 8 hours every day. It just happens. I'm not sure I'm really planning things because it's always postponing. Everything I'm doing is postponing, like one day to another. But yeah, it just happens like that. The biggest problem is actually that you always feel guilty because you didn't spend enough time with your kids or with your husband or doing things at home. I actually feel okay now because the kids are fine, so I'm fine also.
You're seeing the results, but tell me, does this guilt that you feel, does it come from you, or does it come from, your surroundings, society?
The way how I'm raised.
They are quite conservative still.
Yeah, still. I think it comes from the way I'm raised. Even though all of the women in my family are very successful, intellectuals, all working and so on, they always somehow expect that you cook at home. And when it's like a running joke with my aunts in the village, they would normally say like, "What did you cook today?" And it's like big fun to talk about how I cook pasta like 3 times a week for my kids. So yeah,
so there's
it comes from the
outside, but there's a little bit of you wanting to do that for your family too.
Yes, I want to, because you feel like you're giving something. I think all women feel that, like when you're giving something, you're giving like food. It's like a very primal animal instinct, and like you're giving food, right? So it's an instinct, and I guess it's normal to feel guilty about those things. It's just not like tearing myself apart because of it, but it's fine. I'm not dying because I'm feeling guilty.
Well, okay, as a friend, I have to tell you, I think that what you're doing and teaching and showing and giving to your kids through your own work and your own example is so much more than just putting food on the table, whether in the financial sense or in the, physical preparing the meal sense. I think you're doing so much more, and I'm glad that you're seeing the results of that. And I think your kids would agree, even though I haven't met them yet, and I do look forward to that. Okay, so after this question, we do have a couple of questions that we have from other people, and maybe the audience, but I will check into Twitter in a second. But again, the whole point of this webcast and everything that we will be doing within the Building Better Business for Women by Women project is to pass on the knowledge and experience that we have so that other women will hopefully not make the many, many, many mistakes that we have made throughout our careers and lives. So let's talk now about the gritty side of being successful and as phenomenal as you are. What do you feel was your biggest mistake or mistakes, and what do you wish you had been told before you set out on your career and your adult life?
I can't say actually mistakes. So you make mistakes every day. Today I make mistakes. My temper is crazy, and I'm sometimes yelling at people, and I always feel guilty about it, even though those people are usually the ones that I really care about in the office, like in the team. It doesn't happen very often, and it happens actually rarely now. It was much more before. So one of the things, it's not a mistake like a conceptual, like big mistake. It's like little mistakes that you make every day that you feel bad about it, like a couple of minutes later. Just being too much aggressive sometimes. In terms of everything else, I think when you work a lot and when you have a good team that also works a lot, it's very hard to make a mistake that makes like a long-term problem. It's like just going from one thing to another, always making things better. It's not, mistakes are not something that should disrupt your, or you make a big change in your life, and that might be a mistake. I have made those big changes, jumping from one industry to another, and all of those changes were great for me and the companies, and I wouldn't say any of those things were mistakes. I'm not answering your questions.
No, you are answering the question. I just, in fact, have another question related to it. Before we move on, we just have a couple of questions from the audience, which, because we're moving along literally with perfect timing.
Okay.
So that allows me a minute or two to, continue this line of questioning. So would you say that you are a risk taker, or would you say that you conservatively measure so obviously you're willing to make mistakes, which is a huge part of changing things and building things and expanding anything and innovation. But would you say that you're a risk taker and you're willing to do a new thing more than you are to do a traditional thing? Do you like to experiment more, or are you more conservative and you like to stick to the plan until something much better and in a proven way comes along?
Well, those two things just don't have to be a part of the same thing. I'm not a risk taker, but I'm also not conservative, and I always like to try new things. But it's never like a big jump into the new things. It's just like testing out and measuring, and then testing further and developing. So I don't think that's risk taking. I think we all have to do it, like do something new and see if it works, and then go forward with it, or just do something else. So I'm always doing new things, and all of my team is like that. We are always introducing new things, but always testing and measuring. Risk taking is not the same thing as that. It's like I'm not shutting the door behind yourself.
We're on the same page there again. All right, so just a couple of questions. We didn't do a lot of announcing for this webcast, so I'm pretty surprised that we have one at all. And this is actually funny thing. It's someone you know, but I'm not going to tell you who it is right now. And they've sent me a message, actually.
Okay.
And okay, we have another one on YouTube, but ask for that to be transferred to my messenger here. Okay, so as a boss, when you're hiring a young woman, what do you look for?
Willingness to work, and that's not very easy to find. Like you are looking for people who know something is not the most important thing. It's the most important thing is actually to be able to learn through work, through reading, through, I don't know, talking about it. So just willingness actually to try to work. That's the most important thing, the will.
Okay, next question is from Milica, and she asks, Natasa, how hard was industries for you?
How hard? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
How hard was it for you to change industries?
Oh, very easy, no problem. So I jumped in from the airline industry, which is very, very different than anything else, into the banking world, and immediately saw all the similarities that could exist there. So it was something like starting from the beginning, but also the experience I got before with people and with the systems, because I've been doing the systems. It's actually there are always some kind of connections between the industry. So not hard at all. It was actually a very nice thing to do. I would always do it, like every couple of years.
Okay, so is it something that you like doing, changing industries and then finding all of these similarities and connecting the dots?
Well, it showed up like that. So it's, yeah, all of the dots are right there, and it's just up to a challenge to learn the basics of the industry and to go into. But the most important parts are all the same.
Okay, and now I have a little question because frankly, we've got one more that sort of repeats itself, which is about hiring. So I'm not sure if that's a rise in interest for people to come work at domain.me, but which I'm sure they'd love to. But
Yeah.
I do have a question that I know you and I are typically asked, and I sort of kind of already know your answer to this, but you have more and more room to elaborate here, so feel free to. Have you ever been discriminated against in the sense, but really discriminated against as a woman, whether by women or by men, and for being a woman in the sense of, you know, did you pass up on a partnership or a promotion or on a certain job or whatever? Did you get passed on because you were a woman?
Even if I did, I wouldn't notice because I fight a lot and I wouldn't give up. So even if somebody wanted to skip me somehow, I would fight that hard that they would just think, okay, it's easier to just not go there. I don't think that even though Montenegro is very traditional, that there is a big problem with hiring women or giving them promotions or giving them better salaries. The only problem might be actually that maybe Montenegrins don't like to see women on the top positions.
Really?
Yeah, but it's you have to fight for it. It happens. The biggest problem is that women, most of the time, successful women don't obey that well. So that's sometimes a problem. That's my personal
Okay,
experience.
so you are saying though that you feel that women do have to work twice or three times as hard as men with the same qualifications to get to a certain place.
No, I just think we are different, and we think in different ways. We work in different ways. I just think that we women work more because we are, through the history, we have always shown that we have worked more in terms of like the family and in the field and I don't know, everything else, agriculture or whatever. But the advancing goes right with your ambitions. Like if you're ambitious to succeed, to be a boss, then your personality is actually the most important thing. And I think the only big difference and problems with women is that when you are advancing in your career, you don't obey that well as men do. Like
Okay, so
you're
basically
not compromising. You're
learn
like,
how to say no and a lot.
sorry?
Young women to learn how to say no and say it a lot.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, and now we are moving on to the final block, unless there's anything else. I don't think there is. Let me just check, although we can do that later too. I love that we're not limited by any time here. Okay, now we move on to my personal favorite part, and because I really want to hear the answers to these questions, women that I have known for so many years, including you. So what I've done is I've created a modified pivot questionnaire.
Mhm.
You have heard and loved in so many other places, and which has been popular over the last decade or so. Again, the popularity is back, but I've modified it a little bit because I've always felt that the Provoke questionnaire is fantastic and perfect for entrepreneurs and just ambitious, career people in general. So I've just added a couple of things, changed up a couple of things, and you know it. So we're looking for short answers here, please, although we do have time. So if you want to, feel free to add a little bit more onto that.
Mhm.
First question is, what is your favorite word?
Sun. It's not just the word, but everything that comes with it. Sun.
Okay, that's a very interesting answer and explains a lot about you. Okay, what is your least favorite word?
I was thinking hard about it. I have no idea. Probably would go with rain or fog or something like that. But the problem is that in connecting the word with the meaning, that's how it goes directly.
Okay, very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying there are no bad words. It's all about what they mean.
Yeah.
Turns you on creatively, professionally, and otherwise.
New things. Learning new
Okay.
things.
What turns you off?
Laziness.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that was your answer. You know what? Next time I'm gonna write down the answers that I think people are gonna give, and we're gonna get a little betting pool going here. Okay, and my favorite question here: what is your favorite curse word in any?
Now I lost you. Okay, I lost you for a second. My favorite
Yeah, I
curse
lost
word.
you too.
Yeah, okay, I'm here
Yes.
now. I didn't run away when you said curse. So I spoke about this with my daughter, and she knows how I actually hate cursing. I'm not that kind of a, but yeah, of course I have curses and I curse. So I would say jebote.
Okay, that's a very conservative. By the way, we will leave in comments what that means in Montenegrin, Serbian, Croatian, jebote. But just so you know, it's a very light curse word having to do with, let's just call it, everyday fornication.
Yes.
And quite often used, actually more than I'd like to hear it used, but very often used in this region.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of space? Yeah.
Open space, like lots of natural light. If it can be outside, that would be the best.
Also knew you were going to say that. What kind of space do you hate to work in?
Well, the opposite of it, like a small. I'm claustrophobic, so small. I don't like small offices or dark
Spaces.
or yeah, no.
Okay, what sound or noise do you love?
Water, like on the sea or the river. Yeah.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
Cars.
Cars.
Yeah. I hate being on the street. It's when it's noisy.
Okay.
I'm more of a person to live in the village, you see?
Really? But you've spent
Ah,
your entire life literally in the city.
yes. Maybe it's just a wish. I don't know. Maybe I should
Okay, so
try.
if we could buy you a sheep farm somewhere and then set it up with all of the newest technology, that would be your ideal.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Before I try, I couldn't say yes or no.
But as usual, you'd be willing to try.
Yeah,
Um,
but
what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? And I know you've already given a long list of these, but if you could pick one other one, if you weren't doing what you were doing, what else would you be doing?
doctor, like any
Interesting. Any
kind, like
specialty or
even a surgeon. So yeah.
okay. Okay, also a very important profession, and very ballsy. Um, do you never like to do?
Politics, politician.
Yeah, it does seem like quite a dull profession, doesn't it?
Yeah, compromises, like too many compromises would definitely ruin your personality. So no.
I think the lack of freedom is what really puts me
Yeah,
off of it. You know, you
that
can't
comes
move
with,
or say or do anything without everyone following your every word. That's got to be awful.
yes, and you have to, you hate something, and then because of some kind of a higher goal or a party's goal, you would have to go and accept that. That wouldn't go for me. I would be a
Yeah,
very bad
definitely does
politician.
not sound like a career for either you or me or most of the women I know.
No, no.
Which may explain why there's a lack of women in politics. There, I think we've just discovered the reason.
Yes, that's the reason.
Okay, and last question. And done, when it's all over and you're gone from this earth, what would you like most to hear um, by the people that you respect? What would you like to hear the people that you respect? What would you like to hear them say about you?
Okay, so I think all of us sometimes think about how would it be if we would show up on our own burial, right? And listen to the talks, because we have this tradition of talks before you bury somebody. I would say helping people, but I'm not just helping, not kind of helping people just giving away something. I always ask from them to succeed, to actually use the things that I helped with. So it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of respect for what I've done for them. This is crazy. I don't know.
It is so not crazy. As a matter of fact,
Acknowledgement.
it's beautiful and it really speaks volumes about how you feel about what you do daily. And that's what the question is there for. And that I understand you want to leave behind a legacy and you want everything you do and every day that you spend doing it to count in the end. And that's admirable.
Yeah. So my aunt died like 20 years ago, and the only thing we still speak about her is that she was an amazing woman, because she was very lots of humor, but also she was not helping people. She was always so much fun and extremely smart. And I have the greatest respect for her, because she had this kind of principles. And I'm sorry that my kids were not able to know her better. So that's something I would like to leave behind me also.
And that again, it's a perfect wrap up for this because you are speaking about the women who influenced you. And I had several of those too, including an aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's unfortunately it's time to wrap this up because I
Yeah.
do have a few more questions, but I don't want it to drag out. And I think we've managed to put quite a lot into the 40 or 50 minutes that we've just done. And it has just occurred to me that I may decide to invite you back again 6 months from now to do another one. So some women might have to, step back in line. Natasha may need a couple of more of these sessions. Are you coming to Belgrade soon? Am I going to get to
Probably,
see you
yeah,
soon?
probably. So you know that my
Okay,
daughter
perfect.
is studying there, so I definitely will be there soon.
I hope to see you as usual. Grab a cup of coffee, do our thing. We won't be transmitting it we won't be broadcasting it to the public next time. Sorry.
That's
We might
good.
tell you what we talked about, but we're not going to be doing it live again. I really would like to have you back because I still feel that you are a prime example of what we're talking about here, and someone who understands what we're talking about when we say that women need support from other women, and we need to stop asking for others to support us and governments to change laws and regulations and all of that. I think we need to start pushing each other forward and
I
start
fully agree. I fully agree. I think, well, what we have in our team is more women than men in a technology company. But all of us are very well connected in terms of helping each other, even though I'm so much older than everybody else is. But it's such a great support. And I think women are there and should be there to help other women.
Absolutely. And I think, by the way, everyone at the show will be joining us as a mentor on the program. If you want to sign up for our free online mentorships, mentoring sessions, you can do so on the BBB Woman, that's singular woman, so bbbwoman.club. Look up the online mentoring sessions. We have online group mentoring sessions every Sunday, and we have one-on-one sessions with various mentors. We try to pair you up with the mentor that has the skills and experience that will be useful for you and whatever it is you want to do. If you have any questions, email us or contact me directly or Natasa. So we will continue working on all of this, and the response has already, frankly, been a little too big for to handle on our own. So hopefully we'll have everyone's assistance on this. But finally, to wrap things up, give us one piece of advice that you would give not only young women looking to build their own business or to enter a successful career or to choose to have a family. Give us one, leave us with one line of wisdom, one piece of really useful advice.
I think we all have problems with self-confidence, and that's the first thing we as mothers have to build with our daughters, but also we as women have to work on hard, like self-confidence. And that's why a woman friend, mentor is actually the best, because she will always say a very open thing about a very good thing for your self-confidence. We expect too much of ourselves, and then it's not okay, because we are always judging ourselves because we are not perfect. Self-confidence is very important, and we don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, we keep saying that we don't have to be perfect. I agree. I think many of us need to learn that the world expects nowhere close to as much from us as we do from ourselves. So
Yeah.
I think we need to tone it down a little bit and absolutely work on self-confidence and just take the chances.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for being the first guest. I
Thank
really
you.
hope to have you on here again, and I can't wait to see you in Belgrade for a little private session.
Okay, thanks a lot. It's really great to be a part of this.
All right, thanks for joining us. And I will see everybody. We're going to sign off with Natasa now, and hopefully I'll see everybody and more of an audience this time next week. Saturday, December 10th, we have Tina Odinsky-Zets with us from the Zagreb School of Economics and Management, who somehow made her way from New Jersey in the United States to Zagreb, Croatia. So we'll be hearing a little bit about how that happened. Thanks everyone for joining us. This recording will be posted on YouTube so everyone can see it. And Natasa, I will be seeing you soon, as everybody else, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
In about 6 months' time. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.